Everybody, happy 4th of July. Welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Mike Ruler 31. And we've got baseball all day long today. And I think most providers are going to be covering the 5-game 640 slate, which most sites are considering main. I'm going to do the early slate for you today, which is going to start hopefully at 105, but maybe not because of potential weather. So that first game is Baltimore and the Yankees. It again supposed to start at 105. Looks like they're going to have potential rain there and thunderstorms around the start of the game, and like a 60% chance of rain throughout the afternoon. But it should clear by night. So worst case, this turns into a night game, but it's still on the early slate, so you might just have to wait it out. Just be prepared for that. It was a decent game last night. You had the Orioles jumped out to a quick lead. The Yankees fought their way back, and then Bader hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th, and then they went on to win 6-3. But the Yankees are out there like booing some of their hitters because they've just been like some of the big boys have just been ice cold recently. And it was actually like Volpe, hitting 8th, and Higgy, their catcher, and Bader that was coming through for them. So, but anyways, we've got Kyle Gibson today and Clark Schmidt. I guess it is really hard because pitching is horrible on this slate. Are these guys in play? Maybe. I mean, I think I like Gibson more than Schmidt just because the Yankees have been cold and have been striking out, and there's more K upside. But again, they can put up runs. The weather could be bad, so if they start the game and have to postpone it and then start it over later on, are they only going to get 2 or 3 innings? So it's hard to play Gibson or Schmidt here unless for some reason like the thunderstorms pass and it clears up and it looks like it's going to be a fine day for baseball here. So then I think they'd be more in play, but I think I kind of avoid them here. Bat wise, like Orioles, like really like them here. Against Schmidt, I'd probably focus on lefties here. Henderson, Rushman, Santander, O'Hearn just has been doing really well filling in for Mountcastle here at first base. And even when Mountcastle comes back, like he's been doing so well, they might just platoon him and O'Hearn start against righties and Mountcastle against lefties. Then Mullins, Hicks, oh wow, in his return, he got booed every at-bat there. Frazier's decent, so they'll probably be throwing maybe 8 or 9 not 9 lefties, probably because they'll need a shortstop. They'll probably Mateo, and he's a righty there, but they'll have a lot of lefties in this lineup to choose from here. So really like a juicy Baltimore stack here, but again with the weather, I think it's more of a GPP than a cash play. And the Yankees, the same thing here. Like they've been so cold, like I wouldn't even know who to pick out of the stack, but they're so cheap. So if you need them as like fill-ins, if you like pick 5 guys from another team and then pick your favorite 3 Yankees that you think could have success here, then they fill in quite nicely. Next game up, so if the slate doesn't start at 105, it'll start at 110 because the games aren't that far apart early on. You have the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins. So Adam Wainwright has been horrible recently. His last 2 starts, he has given up negative DK points for both of them. So it's just, I don't know, maybe age has finally caught up with him. Maybe he's like slightly injured or something, and but still pitching and just won't admit it, and they need to do something. But yeah, negative 11 DK points, negative 14 DK points. He made it 3 innings 2 starts ago. He made a 1.2 innings. He's given up 6 earned runs, 7 earned runs his last 2. He's only had 1 strikeout in his last 2 starts. He's only had 10 strikeouts total in his last 5 starts. So I was less than 2 strikeouts per start. So obviously not playing Wainwright here. Obviously liking the Miami Marlin bats here, especially even though it's a hitter's or a pitcher's park in Miami, gonna like them. Luzardo's probably after thinking about it here, I'm going to move him to be the top pitcher on the slate because I ranked the pitchers out. I looked at them and then I just have thought about it again, and he's definitely got to be the top guy here on both sides. 3.53 ERA is not bad, 112 strikeouts, but just his form recently. He went to Boston, which is against a good team that doesn't strike out much in a hitter's environment, and he's had some decent games, like even against like the Los Angeles Angels. He put up 22 DK points. Arizona, who's a tough team, he put up 20 DK points, and just his last two, he had 29 and 32, and he's had at least 9 strikeouts in the last 2 games. And within the last, I mean, he averages, like, I'm looking at his box scores, like 9, 9. No, he had a little dip here, 5 and 3, but 8, 8, 7, 8, 7. So he's consistently had a decent amount of strikeouts each time out. I mean, we're not to double digits, but we're close to it. And the Cardinals have been so bad offensively that it wouldn't surprise me if he does get there. Now, I know the Cardinals do have a pretty heavy right-handed lineup, and so they're going to be probably the top leverage stack on the slate. But Luzardo, SP1 for me on both sides. And this slate is so bad with pitching that he might even be my favorite GPP pitcher too. Like it might just be 100% Luzardo in my lineups, which I know is crazy. But as we get through the rest of the slate, you'll especially on FanDuel, because FanDuel only has like the first 4 games. There's really not great options. We already talked about the first game where it's going to be rain. Wainwright's a no, Luzardo's a no, and then I'll get to the rest of the pitchers who are kind of iffy also. So with that said, love the Miami Marlin bats here, and St. Louis is definitely an interesting contrarian stack. Next up, we have the Rangers, who had an offensive explosion against Houston yesterday. It looked like a football game. I think it was 11-10 was the final. And then going to Boston. Now, another rain threat here, but it looks like it should be over by 4 o'clock. So potentially another late start for this. Like this sleep could go on for like 8-9 hours potentially with some of but because the games are supposed to start around 1 o'clock, there's plenty of time to get them in today. So I don't think they'll postpone them. So the wind's blowing in here 5 miles per hour, but still should be a decent hitting environment. Dane Dunning, he's not horrible. He's not somebody I'm excited to play, but without a ton of options, Dunning, he's got a 2.69 ERA, 7-1 this season. Not a ton of Ks, only 51. And he averages probably about 15 DK points game. So, but again, or actually it's 11.5. But recently, look at his box score. He's been okay. So at 66, I mean, that's not bad for an SP2 candidate on FanDuel if you want to take a shot at it. I mean, again, Boston doesn't strike out much. Boston has a lot of nice left-handed power. The wind blowing in might help neutralize that a little bit, but it's only 5 miles per hour. It's not like it's blowing in like 20 miles per hour in Wrigley or any place like that. So I think we'll be okay. Boston, I have no idea what they're doing here. I've seen like Caleb Orts. I've seen like some other names listed here. I don't know if it's an opener situation, a bullpen game, what they're doing here, but I don't think I really want to touch it against this Texas offense, who has just been on fire. So Texas is definitely my second favorite stack on the slate here. And for Boston, they'd be my top GPP stack here. Yoshida's still a little bit banged up. Read an interesting article on him that part of his issue with his health recently has been that he's still trying to figure out a sleep pattern after coming over from Japan, even though he's been over here for quite a few months now since he's joined the Red Sox. So he's just trying to figure out a better sleep schedule where they're busy travel and work out and everything else that they need to do in the course of the day to be successful athletes. So you know, if he, whether he's in there or out the lineup still, you know, you got Duran, Verdugo, Devers, Turner, Casas. Like there's so many decent. David Hamilton, the young shortstop that they brought up, is has been decent also. So so many weapons here on both sides of this game. Then final game on FanDuel is Kansas City and the Minnesota Twins. Zach Greinke and Kenta Maeda. Greinke I'm not interested in, even though the Twins have stricken out a lot, and even though they continue to have injuries. I think Polanco is close to coming back. Julian should be back in for this one, but they're just not full strength. Although Correa and Buxton are starting to heat up a little bit too, and some of the other guys that they've called up have been doing quite well. So Greinke's a no for me. Maeda on the other side, I'm never excited to play Maeda either, but in this matchup against Kansas City, I think he's definitely going to be decent. I mean, it's going to be hot in Minnesota again, 88 degrees when blowing out at 10 miles per hour. Maeda has like a 6.23 ERA and only like 26 Ks on the season in 6 games. And he was terrible in April, but then since he's come back from this injury, I guess Detroit, he had 28 DK points and 8 strikeouts, and he only gave up 2 runs in 5 innings against Atlanta. And that's a pretty good, decent offense that's been pretty hot recently. So, I mean, that's not bad either. So, I'm not saying that I'm like super stoked to play Maeda, but I think, you know, for an SP2 on the slate, and he might only have like an 85 pitch count because it seems like he's only going like 5 innings, but still, pricing wise, I think either he or Dunning are going to be my SP2 on the slate. So bat wise, Kansas City, I mean, they're cheap leverage. If people are going to take Maeda as an SP2, fill in decently, and the Maeda on the other side, or not the Twins on the other side, they are super cheap with some of the guys that they had to call up to fill in for some of the injuries here. Like Miranda is only like 2K or 2.9. Like you're gonna find some really cheap guy. Like the most expensive guy here is Buxton at 5.3 and the Correa at 4.5, and then Julian's like 3, and then everybody else is in the 2K range. Except for Gallo, if you want to play him, he's 3.3, which is still cheap. So Twins make a lot of things work, and probably my 3rd favorite stack on the slate. And if you're trying to pay up for these expensive pitchers on DK, then you know they might be your primary stack and not just secondary for fill-in. Okay, so now we're on to the DK only ones. And we have the Colorado Rockies and the Houston Astros. We have Kyle Freeland and Brandon. You guys are going to crucify me for how I pronounce this. Bielak, Brendan Bielak. I'm not really interested in either one of these guys either. Colorado actually has a 4 total here, and Houston has a 5.48. So like both sides here. Houston, again, put up 12 runs yesterday. Looks like they're starting to come back together. Alvarez should be joining them soon. Brantley probably not this season. They say he's plateaued after being off for a year with his shoulder. So I don't know if we'll ever see him back here. But Perez has been out also with a stiff neck. I think he fell asleep on the plane or something wrong, and it's just been like hurting him. I think that was him that I read that about. But this lineup has been decent recently, especially like you know, their catcher DH here, the young guy Yanni Diaz. He's been it's got some power also. So it's Houston's starting to heat up. Things are starting to come together here. Abreu has had a phenomenal June and has not cooled off as we turn the corner into July. Not saying he's red hot, but he's actually been playable, and his pricing still remains low. So neither pitcher here, but like both sides. You know, I'm going to be playing some Colorado too. They're relatively cheap here. Profile leading off. Even Brian at 4.4 is not bad. McMahon is a decent play here. Lefty has the splits advantage. He's only 4.2. Jones in the outfield, young guy with some power and speed, 3.9. So definitely like some Colorado as some fill-ins here, and Houston is my favorite stack. The New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Senga and Zach Davies, not interested in Zach Davies, even though the Mets have struggled. Still not playing Zach Davies. And Senga on the other side, I know he's given up some power and some walks, but overall, the K's have been there. And he's been doing well. It's kind of a bright spot in the Mets rotation that's been struggling. And he's not putting up a ton of points, but he's had at least like 18 throughout the one start against Toronto. His last one, he's at 18 DK points, 18.8, 28.2, 37.2. And that was against Philly, which is a decent offense, put up 37 points. So, strikeouts 8, 6, 8, 6, 9, 8, and he had 12 against Tampa Bay, which is pretty astounding too. So I really think he's in play here if you want to pay up for pitcher also. And bat wise, the Mets would just be a GPP against Davies, and I don't know if Carroll will be back in this offense. Yeah, he did pinch hit the other day. I don't think he's going to go on the IL. I think he's still going to continue to rest. Arizona is always dangerous. Roof should be closed. It's really 107 degrees at game time in Arizona, so I can't believe that they'd have the roof open. I think they need to have it closed and to try to have the AC on for this game, so people don't all succumb to heat exhaustion, heat stroke, especially the players. So, but Arizona is definitely another GPP team. Now we've got a really good, what should be a good pitching matchup with Aaron Nola and Zach Eflin, but both of them have been bad recently, especially Eflin, and they're the highest priced pitchers on the slate. So I'm not really interested. Again, if you want to play them, Eflin, you're paying a ton of money, and he's given up at least 2 runs in the last 4 games. Strikeouts are not there like they were early in the season. He said like 7, 7, 5, 6. So it's not bad, but I might only get 17, 18 DK points out of either one of these guys and paying 10K. Where they're against like offenses that either one of them can go off. So I don't know. Not super stoked with either one of these two guys. So if you want to play them, if you got a feeling on it, you got to read, then go for it. I'm not going to put them on the fade list. It's just, I don't know, paying up that much. I'd rather see a little bit more better form out of either one of them before I'm playing them. Watch one of them have like a perfect game or something here. With that being said, the bat wise, again, they go in the leverage category. I would take Tampa Bay over Philly. Just being, it is a pitcher's park too, but just with how more consistent Tampa Bay is, that's why I would take them over Philly if I was choosing which stack to play. I still like St. Louis as the top potential stack as leverage, just because how highly owned I think Luzardo is going to be. But either one of these you could stack in your. I wouldn't take any one-offs here. I would just stack them. So pretty much I'm going to cross off this game unless I'm mass multi-entering, and then I'll definitely have a stack of each and probably take the pitcher in at least one lineup. Final game is the Cubs and the Brewers. Kyle Hendricks and Wade Miley. Not interested in either pitcher here at all. Bat wise, I think both of them are cheap fill-ins. Cubs, I mean, they definitely have some righties here. They only have a 4.32 total. I thought they'd have a higher total against Miley, but they've struggled a little bit recently. Again, this might be the time that they put up like 12 runs. So And Milwaukee on the other side, I think they've got a decent total at 4.68. They're starting to come around a little bit, so you can always go with like the lefties here. Yelich, Tellez, Adames hits both sides fine. Winkler. Perkins has sometimes been leading off and playing it. I think he's kind of with some of the injuries here. I think with like Anderson and stuff, he's become a regular everyday outfielder. So I think he's one that you can look at also. So let's look at the builds and get you on the way for your holiday. So as I said, Luzardo is going to be my SP1 in cash. Probably going to use my Adair Dunning as my SP2. And then on DK here, give me Houston and Colorado. So Abreu, Altuve, McMahon or Bregman. It's going to depend on who you want for your SP2 there. Shortstop. I mean, you can throw in one from either team, whatever fits your build. Tucker and Jones are my priorities here, and then you can fill in with whatever way you want to go with the stack. Again, I'm leaning probably more Houston here, so I'll probably have 5 Houston and 3 Colorado, or I'll just have 2 Colorado and I'll probably punt catcher. Although with Maldonado in the mix for Houston, usually, I mean, you can always punt catcher with the Houston catcher because he's usually about 2-1. Now, FanDuel, I don't have the luxury of having this game on the slate, so give me Luzardo again, and then in order to pay for him, because he's the highest priced pitcher on the slate, I'm taking a Minnesota-Miami stack, so give me Areza, give me Correa, give me Soler, give me Sanchez and Buxton, and then figure out who else you want in there. You know, if you want to throw De La Cruz in your utility, you know, fill in with the rest of the Twins or whoever else you want to make that one work. For GPP, I'm taking Senga. And then I'm going to do the same thing as I do in FanDuel Cash here. I'm going to take a stack of Miami and the Twins. The reason being is because I think this allows you to pay up for your SP2. So, you know, with the rain and some of the other question marks out there, why not give me some of the cheaper bats in decent situations hitting wise to get me some points, and then I can get some floor with pitchers. So give me Senga. Maybe I'll throw Luzardo in my SP2 again there, or it opens up if you want to throw Eflin or Nola. It definitely works out in this configuration. I'm not opposed to throwing like a Texas, Miami, or Minnesota, or a Boston, Miami, or Minnesota stack out there also to make it work in a GPP. And of course, like I don't mind like Baltimore if the weather is going to be okay. I probably in my main GPPs wouldn't consider Arizona. Well, I always play Arizona. That's like a one-off thing I do every single day. Or the Mets would probably be like the least likely, unless I'm, you know, playing like 20 max, 150 max. And then for GPP, we don't have much to pick from for FanDuel, with only being 4 games. So, but I am going to stack. I'm going to take my as my SP1. Just going to kind of punt pitcher there because, like, besides Luzardo, all the rest of the options are horrible. And then give me a Boston and a Texas stack, and just hopefully this is a high scoring game. So Semien, Devers, Seager, Duran from Boston there, and Garcia from Texas is my outfielder. If you don't want to do that, and you can pay up for Luzardo for pitcher again, and then just take a Texas Kansas City stack, works really well, or Boston Kansas City stack works both well. You get all the bats that you want, and the Kansas City fill-ins aren't that bad either. So that's what I got for you for this holiday. Hope you have a safe one. Go celebrate America's birthday, friends, family. Do it safely. So lots of other baseball on today. So if you want more information on FSi DFS, you can get into our Discord where we cover all the slates. So in the description of the video, it's how to go to our website and sign up for that. Again, if you have any questions, as always, put them in the chat. I'll try to get back to you, or hit me up at Megaro31 on Twitter. My DMs are open. And if these videos help you, please help us back as you continue to do like the videos, subscribe to our channel. Seems like every single day we get a couple more people subscribing, which is awesome. We're hopefully going to get to 5,000 one day. over the 4,300 barrier, heading towards 44. So slowly but surely, we just appreciate all the views, all the support, all the people who have shared with their friends. So thank you so much. And hopefully we've helped you back with like the content that we've provided for you. So again, happy Independence Day. Good luck in your contests. You know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.